What I offer in a very summarized statement is that I offer the local expertise so that people, when they move here, they don't have the hassle and the difficulties that they might encounter if they were to do it alone.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Real Cyprus. Today we are welcoming Nikolas Konstantinou, the director of REBASE Cyprus. Nikolas, thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
And
Happy
welcome
to
to
be
the
here.
podcast.
Thank you.
So, Nikola, just to start with a summary and put everybody on the same plane, could you please start by briefly a few words, a few statements about your firm, what services that you offer, and about yourself, obviously, and your experience with the market so far?
Okay, well, I'm going to start from the very beginning. And I'm going to go back to 7 years ago when people started asking me, how can we move here? How can we move in Cyprus? How can we take benefit of all the advantages that Cyprus has to offer? Which in the beginning, I myself did not know them. So I made it my task to learn and to educate myself so that I can offer to others. Now, in the beginning, I was not even thinking of doing this professionally. But over the years, I got the feedback that, hey, you should do this professionally because you offer a lot of value. And what is this value? What is the services that we offer? Effectively, when someone wants to move to Cyprus, they contact me and I guide them throughout all the process, right? That could mean incorporating a company, getting a residency permit, registering with the tax department, VAT, non-dom status, if you know what that is, or if you would like me, I can also elaborate a little bit more on it, but also other things. We want to rent the property. What's happening with healthcare? Should we go national? Should we go private? And a lot of other things. It could be, okay, we're going to go with the national healthcare system, YESI. Who should we register with? Because you need a personal doctor. And then where do we buy a car? Do we buy a car? Do we rent a car? If they have a family, which school do we register? And obviously the questions can keep going on and on and on. And if I just continue listing them, it would take us a lot of time. So I don't think I need to do that. You get the gist of it. Effectively, when someone is moving to another country, they have a huge number of questions that they need to answer. What I offer in a very summarized statement is that I offer the local expertise so that people, when they move here, they don't have the hassle and the difficulties that they might encounter if they were to do it alone. And one more thing to add, because it is relevant, obviously most people go online and they try to find out information. And the problem with that is either that information is outdated or someone might be giving their personal opinion, right? And a personal opinion vs a professional opinion has a huge difference.
Yeah. It's true, and I can speak as somebody that changed a few countries in the past, that it's always so important in the beginning to have the right people to guide you, and it saves so much hassle. And basically it's, having a very steady foundation in the beginning changes your experience completely. And actually, going back to what you were saying, why do you think that there is so much interest for Cyprus currently? Because at least from our point of view as a developer, we see a lot of traction lately, compared to previously. Why do you think that is? What are the benefits that Cyprus is bringing and suddenly so many people are interested?
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with something that you didn't ask. I'm going to start with no destination is perfect. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have advantages and disadvantages in every country in the world, right? And I want to start with Cyprus is not perfect. Having said that, we have a lot of advantages as well. Weather, very important. We get a lot of people from northern countries and they come here for the weather. But then we might have countries, let's say from South Africa, for example, where they have brilliant weather, but they want to come here because of safety or better options for their kids to study in schools or universities. Maybe in Cyprus, maybe in Europe. But if they get residency here or even citizenship, it opens a lot of doors
It's easier
for them.
too.
Exactly. This can be not only, I mentioned South Africa because we're seeing an increased interest for that, but it could be any other country, right? Especially non-European countries. They're looking for a plan B. What happens if in my country happens this, right? So we've seen a lot of conflict and a lot of things going on in the recent years, from neighboring countries and even further. A lot of people are looking for a plan B. So weather can be one thing, lifestyle can be another thing, safety can be another thing.
Taxation.
Yes, taxation. I left it for last because, in my opinion, people who come here purely for the money, they don't enjoy it. If they come here and taxation is an added benefit to something else, right? I'll say some very basic things, right? Here in Cyprus, we eat fresh vegetables and fruits. If you're living in Germany, or if you're living in the UK, or if you're living in a lot of other big countries, it's unlikely that you get fresh fruits and vegetables or fish or something else, right? We in Cyprus underestimate how important that is, because let's say the typical, person that comes from London or Berlin, they might be eating vegetables from Argentina. I don't know.
Most probably.
Something, right? Which they have been frozen, they have been moved, So that's a very basic thing. Most Cypriots don't realize this because for us, that's a default. But for someone who's coming from abroad and he takes that tomato and he says, this is so flavorful, this is fresh. And it can be a fruit, a vegetable, fish, something else, like herbs. Like I have friends that they're in love with olive oil or oregano or so on. It's so basic things, but they're important.
Things we take for granted.
Exactly,
like daily.
Things we take for granted. But even the weather, for us, sunshine and good weather and 300 days of sunshine is all we know. But if you're coming from northern country and it's 300 days of, or even more, of cloudy weather or raining, this is important. Now, taxation wise, let's not kid ourselves, right? Because it was the last thing mentioned, but it is very important. There is countries that take between 40 and 75% in taxes. Yes, you heard me right, 75% taxes under certain circumstances, okay? And then you come to Cyprus, and if you're non-Cypriot, and unfortunately many Cypriots think that this is wrong, but I think it's a very good benefit to have, you get wealthy individuals who come in Cyprus, they pay less taxes than Cypriots, yes, but the amount they pay is multiple, many times than let's say, the average Cypriot, which keeps the taxes low for us Cypriots, but also gives an advantage for foreigners that they come here, or expats, they come here to enjoy the life and have a great lifestyle and get the added benefit of taxes. And I'll give an actual example. My average client makes profit of 250,000 euro a year, okay? And I'm not going to say names, but this comes from a real example, even though it's also my average. Okay, someone lives in Berlin. He has a family. He works a really good job. He makes 250K a year. In Germany, they will take 55% in taxes. In Cyprus, we're going to get 15% taxes from him if he fulfills the requirements for the non-dom status. Immediately, he can benefit financially. But then he comes here, and in Berlin, he was paying 4,000 euro rent for an apartment. And here he pays 4,000 euro rent for a villa.
For a 4-bedroom villa with a swimming pool and a sea view.
Exactly. And the fact that he has more buying power now, because he remains with a lot more disposable income, it means he can invest or he can spend money. So that's why we see a lot of expats driving more expensive cars, which means that they pay more insurance, which means they fuel more. Also, they go out for restaurants more often than locals do. They go and shop at any retail shop with more buying power than the average Cypriot does. So effectively, they're fueling the economy, whether directly with the taxation that they pay. Because, okay, let's take the average Cypriot or the average foreigner that comes here. If the average foreigner pays 15% on 250,000, right? He's paying north of 30,000 euro in taxes. how many Cypriots pay 30,000 euro taxes? Most Cypriots, I would think, right, make less than 30,000 euro income. Okay? Yes. Now, that person pays 30,000 euro taxes to the government, buys fuel, buys things from retail, buys shopping, goes to supermarkets, travels all the time and pays airport taxes and this and that and so on. And the economy is boosted both directly and indirectly. And I'm mentioning this because unfortunately I hear a lot of locals saying, oh, but why should the foreigners get a better tax to come and enjoy our life, our lifestyle in our island, and we the locals don't? Because we the locals are standard and they have us, and the expats, in order to come, you need to give them advantages.
No, it's true, because like if you think about it, we are an economy that, let's face it, it's relying on foreign direct investments, either directly or indirectly. I mean, what we do as developers at Domenica Group, we get part of the indirect, because housing is one of the issues that you need to solve when you move to another country, and with us, of course, many other professions, from marketing to the actual contractors doing job. But at the same time, and okay, we can argue about the difference that non-dom creates, and any comparative disadvantage of two companies doing the same thing.
Depends how you phrase it, but yes.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. I mean, you can, in my humble opinion at least, you can either look at it as non-dom, which, by the way, we keep repeating it. Non-dom status, I will ask you explicitly to explain it, to put everybody on the same boat. But basically, you can just start by saying we have a certain part of the population coming from abroad that pay, let's say, different taxes. But at the end of the day, how much more buying power are they actually contributing to everybody? How much better is our lives because of that? Because it's not just the money that they contribute, in my humble opinion, it's also the fact that you want to bring them. I think that's obvious that we want to bring them. And so when you bring them, you want to keep them. And that's kind of indirectly also pushing government and other public authorities to speed up infrastructure projects. So because of they are here, and because there is somebody with a buying power, in my humble opinion, is one of the reasons, that we see more hospitals, schools, private schools, and money for infrastructure projects, which at the end of the day make everybody's life easier.
And a boost of economy in general.
Yeah.
On that point, how easy is it to relocate in Cyprus compared to other European countries?
Look, it depends. If you're talking about Europeans, it should be pretty similar, right? Yes, not every country is the same, but let's say for a European to relocate in Cyprus is quite straightforward. For a non-European to relocate to Cyprus it definitely has a great factor of difficulty, right? And obviously in Europe, you have free traveling, so anyone can be here anyway on the island, and they can stay
as long
as they come and go all the time. They can stay, there is no problem. But if they want to stay here, all they have to do is prove that they have the resources to sustain themselves, and they don't have to, they will not be a burden on society of Cyprus or the government of Cyprus and so on, right? So that's the most important thing. So if you go like check requirements, what is needed, they need to have a property, they need to have either a salary here, which gives them access to ESE, or they need to have a private healthcare. They need to have a proof of address, such as a utility bill on their name, and then
basic stuff.
Yes, basic stuff. If, for example, they don't have a salary here, they need to provide like a proof of income that they can sustain themselves, and that's it. Very straightforward. For non-Europeans, is a lot more difficult, and for obvious reasons. But for example, a non-European needs to open a local bank account. They need to bring money here as proof that they have the income on top of providing other documentation. They need to pass a health test. They definitely need a private healthcare, and they have to have it ongoing as well, because by default, they cannot work here, so they cannot get access to ESE. Yeah, obviously there are exceptions under certain circumstances and so on and so forth. But as you understand, just from this basic description that I gave, for Europeans is a lot more easier. Now, when someone wants to come here, and effectively there will not be a burden in society, and they can prove that, they're welcomed, right? It doesn't matter if they're coming from Middle East or Russia or Ukraine or China or the US.
So it's the same, basically, it's the
Yes.
same criteria for
Exactly. However, there is, and you as property developers, you should know this very well. There are special schemes such as the if you buy a property above 300,000 and so on, and under some other criteria. It's not that the other criteria go away. You can get a fast track process because effectively you're contributing immediately, directly to the economy. Because if they buy a property from you, you are paying a marketing team and a construction team and electrician and carpenter and designer and architect and so many down the line, you know, that the whole economy is boosted. So obviously the government gives incentive for this, right? So that's one way for someone, let's say, who is not from the European Union to come very easily and take advantage of this.
You mentioned the process, right?
Yes.
And we saw in the past few months attempts, I would put it this way, for our government to become more digitalized.
Yes.
Do you think they are at least as an idea, steps in the right track, and then as in practice, as a professional of the subject, have you actually seen positive or negative changes, at least in this short term?
All right. So I'm very happy to say that as of 2 days ago, I actually got my digital ID on my Apple wallet, let's call it, right? I have my ID, I have my driving license, and I have my MOT. This is the first step that they released, and it's a huge step going forward. So if we compare our country with other countries in terms of digitalization, we're definitely a bit behind. However, we're catching up fast. Okay. I mean, again, I'm referring to your business because you know it very well. Back in the day, in order to get certain documents, especially in the real estate sector, whether it was land registry or a building authority or so on, you had to go there in person. You had to hire someone to do it if you couldn't go there in person, and so on. The only way you could do it is offline. Now we have platforms that you can do it online. Are they perfect? No. Are they improving rapidly? Yes. 2 years ago, we couldn't do a tax registration without going in person at the tax authority. During COVID, with the lockdowns and everything and so on, we had to go there at the tax department and put an envelope into one box, and they call us, and then we go there, we open another box, and we collect it, and we went away. Now you can do everything online, right? I feel like what we have to improve on, and obviously there is constant improvement anyway, but what we have to improve on, and I know that the Ministry of Innovation is working very well on it, is unifying all these portals. So you have Ariadne, and you have Ipodamos, and you have Tax Portal, and then you have Tax for All, and so on. So effectively, a lot of these things can now be done online, but it's very hard because it's not centralized. The tax department has one portal. The VAT department, even though it's under the tax, has another one. The land registry has another one. And so on and so forth, right? But now, under gov.cy, they're unifying all this. So they're making our life as providers much easier, but also they're making the life of the average citizen or resident a lot easier as well. Okay? So yeah, I definitely see improvements.
Good. Look, at the end of the day, it's what you said. Nothing is perfect. No destination is perfect. The aim and what we hope for is for people to actually see where we can improve and take the right steps, right? And is what we said. Part of what we're doing here, besides friends, it's also to discuss things that we believe that could improve, and just suggestions from the people that experience the issues daily.
What I have to say, though, to anyone out there listening or watching, is that many times what you experience is affected by your personal experiences. I'll give you an example. We have people that they're coming in Cyprus and they're incorporating a company, right? And then they say, we want to be registered for tax and VAT. And let's say I will take 2 clients, let's say, coming from the same country, from Germany. One of them says, oh my God, this is so difficult to be done in Cyprus. And then we get someone else says, oh my God, it's so easy to make it in Cyprus, like no comparison to Germany. But why? They're coming both from Germany. It's just that the experience they had there was different. For some of them, Cyprus works amazingly well. For others, they're like, oh, why it doesn't work so well, But that's personal experience. I've seen both, and I've seen it a lot. I get a lot of conflicting views all the time. Like if you leave Germany, and I'm speaking about Germany because a lot of majority of people that come to me are from Germany, because a lot of the clients refer each other to me, right? So in Germany, before you come here, you need to deregister. So I see a big discrepancy in opinion, right? And even like they say, oh, I asked my tax advisor and he said this, and then still there is the conflict, right? You should deregister first and then incorporate in Cyprus. Or it doesn't matter, you can incorporate in Cyprus and then deregister in Germany. Now, obviously, it cannot be both wrong. It cannot be both right? One of it is right and the other one is wrong. I don't know which. We follow instructions, whatever they tell us. Because when he comes and he tells you, my advisor said I need to deregister first, and the other guy says, my advisor said I don't need to deregister.
You need to work with that.
We need to work with that. And because we don't give advice on Germany, we give advice in Cyprus, right? And by the way, I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm a relocation consultant, which means that when they do need tax advice in Cyprus, we take them to a tax advisor. And when they need a lawyer, we take them to a lawyer. When they need an accountant. When they need a property, we don't sell them properties. We're not expert in properties.
We bring them to us.
We take them to someone that knows their thing. Why would I try to do this, right? Yeah. I mean, Kyriakos knows because you're also dealing with solar. I've sent him a lot of clients, especially for solar, right? Because it's been a lot of interest lately. If someone asks me about it, I said, look, I've used the company. I'm happy with them. Here you go. Talk to them. They can answer your questions, but I'm not the person.
Solar.
Yes, I'm not the person that I can answer you these questions, and that's totally fine as long as you do it in a right way and you refer the right people, because that's what we do. We refer reputable partners. Can I do certain services on my own and consult you? Yes, I can. Can I do accounting? No, I cannot. Right? And so on. So referral is a big part of what we do. And I'm happy to say that most people, because you cannot have 100% satisfaction, but most people are very happy with our referrals.
Ramo, thank you very much for today. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for the conversation, because it's things that almost everyone that is moving to Cyprus faces. It's things that, naturally, when anyone moves anywhere, it's faces. So it's good to know some of the processes. You went into details on some of the processes. Of course, I understand that we could be discussing about it for hours.
Have like
literally
four
days.
episodes. 4 episodes about this.
Yes.
But just if you could just closing remark, summarizing stuff, and maybe if you wanna, how do you see 2025?
Okay. Well, we see every year an increase for people that they want to move to Cyprus. We get all type of questions, right? I'm not going to go over them. But what I would say is, if you're planning to relocate to Cyprus and you're looking for some advice, feel free to Google me and find me. And I'm happy to answer the questions and give a lot more time and personal, let's say, answers to your requirements. Right. But to your question about 2025, every single year we have seen more and more interest. I mean, once again, I work mostly with Germans or the DACH region, German, Austrian, Switzerland. However, we've seen lately a lot of increase from Scandinavia. And lately, even though that was a personal surprise to me, we've seen a lot of interest again from the UK. And that has to do with the change of government there. But 2 years ago, we've seen an increase, let's say, from our neighbors in Israel or Palestine because of the conflicts there. We've seen an increase in requests from Ukraine and Russia because of the conflict. So we don't know how or what the future holds, right? So a lot of this moving is, in many cases, a choice, and in other cases, it's a reaction, right? But
necessity.
Yeah, but they come here and they say, we're coming from a war-inflicted region, and then we come here and we feel safe. It is a very, very important advantage that, we talked about the weather, we talked about taxes, but for everyone is different. And when that someone finds the reason that they want to come here, they can really enjoy life.
Thank you.
Nikola, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for being with us on another episode of Real Cyprus. Hopefully, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you.